Hey, this story involving Ryan Lochte and other American Olympians in Rio in Brazil is really getting weird. We first reported that Ryan Lochte and some other swimmers were robbed in Rio. We then learned that it appears as though they actually made it up, or at least there is now the suspicion that they made the entire thing up. And a Brazilian judge actually ordered police to seize the passports of Lochte and some other Olympians, including gold medalist James Feigen, so that they could be questioned because the descriptions of the robbery now are not adding up. Supposedly, it took place in the early hours of Sunday morning, and it included some other Olympians, including Gunnar Bentz and Jack Conger. The Brazilian police stopped at least 2 Olympic swimmers from boarding a flight home just a couple of days ago to question them. But Ryan Lochte, for example, was already back in the United States. Passports were seized. Inconsistencies in the stories. They've asked the taxi driver that supposedly was involved in the evening to come forward, but the taxi driver hasn't. Some people say that's because there is no such taxi driver. Others are saying that it's because the taxi driver doesn't want to get involved because they just don't want to get involved. They want nothing to do with this thing whatsoever. This is just a very, very strange story, and there's speculation as to what may have happened here. If it does turn out that the robbery was made up, I truly don't get why anybody would make that up other than to try to hurt Rio's image, because a lot of the athletes are very displeased with how Brazil has been set up in terms of the facilities and the water quality and so many other things. But I really don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I could see them, Brazil and the authorities being very upset with the story being made up because they're so concerned about their image.
Yeah.
But there is so much to criticize, and they've failed in so many ways this entire Olympics that there's really nothing to salvage in terms of their image. And I just don't get why they would really care if this story was made up when countless tourists will tell you the exact same story.
Well, it does get more attention, right, when it's Ryan Lochte who got robbed than it's when when it's 1,000 tourists, because as we know, 1 million people being victimized is a statistic. One person being victimized is a tragedy, or whatever the case may be. Any thoughts on the inconsistencies of the stories?
Kind of in Lewis's point, I think this was potentially, or one story that I heard was that this was a chance for them to kind of get out of going on a night of partying and then coming home and not, being on time for practice the next day or something like that. And just an easy way to scapegoat Brazil and get out of it when, who's greater at this point, Lochte or Brazil? Probably in most people's mind, Lochte.
So you're saying sort of a way to cover a night of drinking that may have been actually what precipitated whatever took place the next day in terms of them being late. Maybe that this was a cover for that. It's also possible that the stories are different from each of the individuals because they were drinking. I mean, is that we're just completely speculating here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's definitely playing into why no one is on the same page here.
If you have any thoughts as to what the hell is going on, as Donald Trump likes to say, please let me know. I'm on Twitter at @Pakman. I've talked about how people of all ages, but particularly millennials, are owning cars less and participating more in the sharing economy. And one of the more popular options is Zipcar, which gets you a car when you want it, when you need it. They offer all sorts of cars, SUVs, hybrids, whatever you need. It includes insurance and it includes gas. You just pay for the time that you actually use the car, and you can reserve the car online from your smartphone over the phone. Then you unlock it with your Zip card. Each car share member reduces their personal CO2 emissions by between 1,100 and 1,600 pounds per year. For our audience, Zipcar is offering $25 of free driving credit if you sign up at joinzipcar.com/David. Support our show, reduce your carbon emissions and your spending on cars. Sign up at joinzipcar.com/David.